United Center, the building Michael Jordan made legendary, is bursting at the seams. 21,000 fans chant, wave towels, and brace for a spectacle they think they've already predicted. No Caitlin Clark, no Sophie Cunningham, no head coach Stephanie White. Perfect. Chicago's newly minted super rookie Angel Reese is about to feast. Except 94 minutes later, the scoreboard reads 79-52. And it's the Sky who are crawling out of their own arena. But that wasn't the whole story, because the real headline isn't who was missing, it's who showed up. Disaster seemed inevitable before the opening tip. Caitlin Clark's left quad strain had already cost Indiana 2 losses, and trainers ruled her out again just hours before the team flight. Sophie Cunningham stayed behind in rehab. Then, without warning, head coach Stephanie White phoned in with a personal emergency. The Fever's top clipboard would sit empty on national television. The media vultures pounced. Clark or bust, Fever limp into Chicago, one headline crowed. Talk show callers wrote off Indiana as a traveling sideshow minus its only attraction. And as 9 p.m. local tip time neared, social feeds began the funeral march. Memes of crutches, tombstones, and clown cars trending under #FeebleFever. So who did the franchise lean on? An assistant coach most casual fans hadn't heard of. Austin Kelly, 12 years in the league, precisely 0 games at the helm. To outside observers, he looked like a placeholder. To the Fever locker room, he was the calm eye in a tornado. "We'll be fine," Kelly whispered in pregame warm-ups, "but they're not ready for you." And the players started to believe it. The storm on paper would become Indiana's baptism of fire. From the opening possession, Kelly's fingerprints were all over the floor, hands low on defense, chatter nonstop, rotations snapped into place. Chicago's starting 5 went ice cold, clinking to an 8-for-29 first-half nightmare. Not once did Kelly burn a timeout during the Fever's 20-2 knockout run. He folded his arms, stared across the court, and let his players keep swinging. Memphis-style grit oozed from the sideline, elbows out, heads up, no mercy. Fans watching on CBS kept asking the same question. Why does the assistant look more comfortable than the home coach? Maybe it was because Kelly had been rehearsing this job in the shadows for 13 seasons. Maybe it was because he understood that teaching defense is one thing, believing in it is something else. But points still win games, and Chicago snarled that Indiana could never outscore them without Clark. Enter Kelsey Mitchell. Mitchell's first touch was a jab step 3 that sank so clean the net refused to move. Her second came off a curl, a quick hesitation, and a left-hand lay-in past 2 help defenders. 7 points in 5 minutes. The Sky kept retreating, the lead ballooned to 17. Mitchell wasn't auditioning to be someone else's highlight. She carved out her own. Off ball, she slashed, circled, reposted, forcing double teams that ripped Chicago's shell apart. Every handshake to a rookie, every glance to the bench screamed, "I've got us." By halftime, her line read 11 points, 0 turnovers, 4 for 6 shooting. But she wasn't the only Fever player torching the script. Lexi Hull hasn't trended on X all season, yet tonight, every shot felt magnetic. She caught a cross-court skip, flicked a moon-high 3, and never saw the rim, nothing but nylon. Later, same spot, identical result. 2 for 2 from deep, team best plus 19 in just 22 minutes. Inside, 2024 Rookie of the Year Aaliyah Boston reminded the league why she was once called the cheat code. 11 points, 5 boards, 5 assists, 5 blocks. Every swat punctuated by a primal scream that echoed under the championship banners overhead. The Sky's drives died on her outstretched palms. Indiana finished the night with 20 assists on 27 made shots, a clinic in unselfish precision. Chicago's rotations wheezed like a rusted gate, coughing up open looks the Fever buried at a 41% clip from distance. This wasn't depth, it was an avalanche. And just when the Sky's scouting report looked shredded beyond repair, a point guard nobody bothered to scout tore the last pages out. Signed on the 1st of June to plug a roster hole, Ari McDonald spent more time memorizing play calls on the flight than sleeping. 7 days later, she splashed her first triple, ripped a pocket steal from Angel Reese, and bowed to the roaring Fever bench. 12 points, 3 bombs, 3 steals, a block, and more subtle fingerprints than any box score appreciates. The offense started 6 feet higher because defenders couldn't sag off her range. Lanes widened for Mitchell. Post seals deepened for Boston. Every misdirection felt rehearsed, even though the combination had never existed before tip-off. McDonald's energy infected the broadcast. Commentators began using phrases like "found money" and "instant chemistry." Twitter lit up with McDonald's memes because every time Ari cooked, someone posted, "I'm loving it." While Indiana's latest addition turned confusion into confidence, Chicago's season took a brutal, literal twist. Mid-first quarter, five-time All-Star Courtney Vandersloot planted for a defensive slide and crumpled. The hush was instant. Replays later confirmed a torn ACL. Season over. Angel Reese tried to rally the troops, but nothing fell. She finished 2 for 7, 4 points, and a frustration foul that elbowed Boston hard enough to make the league office bookmark the tape. The same Angel Reese who'd already flirted with suspension chatter after a TikTok that many fans blasted as hateful toward Caitlin Clark, now watched a second social media firestorm ignite mid-game. The Sky coughed up 19 turnovers, each an easy run-out dunk or corner three for Indiana. Chicago's shooting percentage bottomed at 32% overall, 20% from three, with 0 players in double figures for the first time this season. The arena lights felt colder by the minute. The sellout crowd began filing out halfway through the fourth quarter. 2 weeks earlier, the Sky had boasted that the May 17th blowout in Indianapolis, Indiana by 35, was a fluke. Tonight's 27-point sledgehammer, raising the aggregate to 62 points in 2 meetings, erased any remaining debate. The Sky weren't losing to the Fever. They were drowning in them. Cue the pundits. One national talker labeled this feud the WNBA's answer to Warriors' Cavs. Every handshake charged, every quote mined for social currency. Stephen A. Smith devoted 9 minutes to dissecting whether Angel's shove last month at home was intentional or just playoff physicality in June. Meanwhile, Indiana's locker room poured water on Austin Kelly as if he'd clinched a title. Kelsey Mitchell shouted, "That's our coach." Caitlin Clark, still in street clothes, added a grin and a single instruction. "Somebody get a towel. This man is soaked." The win moved Indiana to 4-4, a perfectly average record on paper. But context changes everything. They'd just banked their second straight victory without their franchise player, in the largest WNBA venue ever used, under the brightest network spotlight. The one-woman show narrative shattered like cheap glass. Better still, Clark's reevaluation date is less than a week away. Opponents who hoped to bury Indiana early now must ponder the nightmare scenario: a healthy superstar joining a roster that discovered its collective swagger in her absence. Chicago wanted revenge. The crowd wanted a coronation. Both got a masterclass in depth, grit, and the danger of underestimating the pieces behind the marquee name. Indiana Fever basketball is no longer shorthand for Caitlin Clark highlights. It's Kelsey Mitchell's cold stare, Aaliyah Boston's volleyball spike blocks, Lexi Hull's microwave threes, Ari McDonald's chaos engine, and Austin Kelly's silent assassin grin. If this is what adversity looks like, imagine the chaos when the sharpshooter returns to full speed. So tell me, do you still think this team is a one-hit wonder? Drop "I've got the fever" in the comments, smash the like button, and ring that bell so you never miss the next chapter. The Sky might keep falling, but this story, it's only climbing.